All right, guys, this is 1.4.4 practice. This is not an assigned graded activity. This is to teach you how to create a box and whisker plots or a modified box and whisker plot using your graphing calculator. In the next practice activity, you'll be doing this on your own. So the first step to creating a box and whisker plot is entering the data into your graphing calculator. So here's all the data, and it wants us to put, get my tools up here. It wants us to put the northern states into our list 1 and the southern states into our list 2. And we've done this sort of thing before. Let me get out a graphing calculator and remind you how to do that. So the first thing, I'll just go back all the way to the beginning. The first thing that we're gonna do is hit your second button, or not your second button, sorry, your stat button right here, and go to the first option, edit. As you can see, I already have data in my lists from something else that we did before. So to clear the data out of your lists, the quickest way to do that is to go up, so you have your L's highlighted, and hit clear, and then enter, and everything will go away at once. So I'll do the same thing on the other one. Go up to highlight L1, hit clear, and then enter, and it all goes away. Now I can put all this data into those lists. I'm going to pause this recording so that you can do that also. All right, guys, so now I have all my data in my lists, and yours should look pretty much just like this also. So the southern states have a little bit more data than the northern states. Moving along, it says when you're done, you should have 22 numbers listed in L1 and 25 into L2. Let me actually just double check that. I think I am actually missing one. Let me pause and see if I can fix that. All right, I was able to fix that. What I did was that in one of my data points, I had put both of them in the same entry, so it's just one really long number. A quick note here, if you do that, you need to insert something in here. You can put the button and then this delete button to insert a new data point. Okay, so the next thing it wants us to do is preparing your first statistics plot. Reset all the stat plots by hitting second stat plot 4 all plot. So what it's saying here is that if you go to your stat plot option here by hitting second y equals, you get all these options here. And if you choose number 4, it'll turn all of them off at the same time. I can actually look here and see that they're already all off. The reason why we want them to be off is because we don't want to have multiple plots on your graph at the same time, and then they'll get confusing, especially if it's pulled out of it's not even relevant. So mine are already off, so I'm not going to worry about that. If I needed to, I could also go into an individual plot like this just by hitting enter, and then go over and turn it off this way. Okay, next, it says in the plot menu, position the cursor on and enter. Let's see, so we're going to make our first modified box and whisker plot. This is the one on the lower left. So it shows you right here, there's 2 types of box plots on here, and those are talked about in the videos 1.4. We have this one where you can see there's a box plot and some outliers over here that would be a modified box plot. And then we have this one where there's no outliers, it's just box and whiskers. That is an old style box plot that is not modified. So we're going to make a modified box plot for list 1. And then we're going to make another modified box plot for list 2 and look at them on the same graph. So we're going to look at a box plot for our northern states data and a box plot for our southern state data, and we're going to put them on top of each other and see how we can compare them. So to do that, get my graphing calculator back out. I already have my data in my list. I don't need to bother sorting them or anything. I can go straight to my stat plot, second y equals, and I'm just going to turn on the first plot. I'm going to hit enter, turn it on, go down to the type that we want, which is the modified box plot, hit enter to highlight it, go down Make sure we have our first list here. That would be our northern state data. Frequency should always be 1. We don't want to duplicate any of our data points. And we'll go ahead and let the little box be the marker for our outliers. Now I can hit graph, and I might not see my data right away. In fact, I see a line here from something I was doing with my Algebra 2 students. So that's another point. I made sure all my stat plots were off, but I didn't go into my y equals and make sure that I didn't have any lines graphed in there because that'll throw me off. So I went ahead and I hit y equals, and I'm going to clear that line so I can no longer. Okay, so now I can't see my line, but I also can't see my box plot. So I'm going to go ahead and hit zoom. And the 9th option, zoom 9, is zoom stat. We talked about that before. So I can literally just click number 9 without having to scroll down. It will zoom in to the statistics that I have put in. It'll give me a good view of the box plot I just created. And I can see easily that there's my minimum, there's my first quartile, my median, my third quartile, and my maximum. And I can even hit this trace button and move along it side to side and see those exact values. The third quartile, Q3, is 129,400. Move over, my maximum point is 177,800. That's kind of nice with that trace function. Now, let's put the second box plot on here for our southern state data. So again, I'm going to hit the second button and go to my stat plot. And now I don't want to turn this one off. I want to create the second one and view them both at the same time. I'm going to go to plot 2. And I'm going to turn it on. And again, I'm going to go down and select the modified box plot type. And now I don't want to reuse the same data in list 1 for the northern states. I want to use the data in list 2. So remember to get our L's. They're up here in blue above our numbers. L1 in blue is above 1. L2 is in blue above 2. So I have to hit Shift 2 to get that little L2 button, or second, I should say, 2. And there it is, list 2. And again, frequency 1, yada yada, graph, and now I have 2 box plots. And I can compare that. I can see that one of them is skewed right, and the other one is maybe a little skewed right, but not as far. The northern states definitely have a higher maximum than the southern states do. Okay, one thing I forgot to do here is I forgot to, once I put in this second stat plot, to adjust my zoom again. So I'm actually not seeing all the data here. Watch what happens when I click zoom 9 again to adjust my windows so that I see all of the data from both of these current stat plots instead of just the first one. Boom, now I have outliers. I was wondering why I wasn't seeing that before. I had to adjust my zoom because I added more data into my graph. So I can now see that my northern states have no outliers. My southern states have 2 outliers on the high end of that data set. So moving down along here, I can answer these questions pretty easily. What's the 5-number summary for each data set? Again, just click the trace button and move right to left. There's your numbers. Do the northern states and southern states have more variation in median home prices? By your answer. Remember, variation for a box plot, we're looking at median and IQR. So our variation is our interquartile range. And visually with a box plot, our interquartile range is how big is our box. Obviously, the box on top is much bigger than the box on bottom. So I can say that the northern states have more variation than the southern states because the interquartile range, or the box from Q1 to Q3 of our northern states, is much larger than our southern states. And if I needed to, I could go even further and give that actual number, the IQR, for each data set to back that up. Next, it says, overall, would you say that the northern states or southern states have higher median home prices? The higher median home prices. Let's see. So that's what all of this is. So who has the higher ones? Really, it's hard to say. Their medians are about the same. And while the southern states have a higher maximum point, that's really an outlier. The northern states have a higher maximum that is not an outlier, but in general, again, I'm going to say this is one where it's hard to say. Do we count this as a maximum and say all the southern states have a higher median? Not really, because the majority of the data is kind of lower over here. I would say they're about the same, just judging by the median itself, the median of the median income. Last one, which states are the outliers for the southern states? Offer a theory as to why their prices are maybe so high. So again, I'm in my trace option here. I can go left to right and down, I believe down, yep. And I can see that's the one that was 195,500 and 245,300. I can scroll back up and see what states those were for specifically. So that would be Hawaii and California. So why do we think that homes are more expensive in Hawaii and California? We could definitely make some guesses there. What else? I think that is it. Okay, so hopefully that kind of clarifies things. Creating box plots with your graphing calculator. You can now do the next practice, 1.4.5 on Apex. It is a worksheet. You can do it digitally or print it out and sending a copy. Make sure you submit those through Apex via a message. If you're unsure of how to do that, just let me know and I'll help you out.